webinar. Um, so I am Carl Treelevin, the chair of RAGCED, and I'm pleased to welcome all of you today. Not sure if Christina Keligulian is on, but apparently not. So Nick, you're starting to share your screen.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm having the problem again. Can you see it?
No, only see a black screen for right now. So, but anyway, we're pleased to welcome all of you to this second in a series of 5 webinars on microfinance. I will be serving as your host, and our title of it, this one is called Eliminating Poverty by Empowering People. So Nick, if you could advance the slide.
I'm sharing the screen.
Okay, you're doing it, Gomati. Great,
yes.
Thank you. So before getting started, I really wanted to give a brief introduction to RAGCED, the Rotary Action Group for Community Economic Development. We're the hosts of the webinar. And for those of you who are not familiar with what we're doing, we're 25 different Rotary Action Groups, and our focus is on economic development, Rotary Foundation's area of focus. And this is our mission, as you can see. And the key words in here are to be a source of knowledge and expertise. And our task ultimately is to help Rotarians, Rotaractors all over the world with economic development projects that they're trying to do. And you'll hear more during the presentation today about ways that we can help you, your Rotary or your Rotaractor club to accomplish that. A couple other key points on it, of course, is to do projects that are impactful, sustainable, and create lasting change. Gomati, if you could advance, please. So we do a range of different projects, and Nick and Wally are going to highlight some of those today. And you can see examples of them. This is not an exhaustive list, but pretty representative things we do. We'll be talking about microfinance, microloans today, but we're also doing projects in agricultural development, vocational and business training. We have a program called Adopt a Village, which some of you may be familiar with. And we also have been doing some projects related to solar lights. Again, the key point here is that this is not an exhaustive list of the kinds of things that we are doing. Please advance. So we get today's presentation, and as I say, I'm going to serve as your host, but the key thing is that you'll be hearing from 2 of our key people, and those are Nick Frankel, who is a past district governor from California, and a previous chair of RAGCED. And he will be followed by Wally Gardner, who is a Rotarian from High River, Alberta, Canada. If we could please ask everyone at this point to make sure to mute your computers so you don't get a lot of background noise. Yeah, if you could please be sure to mute.
Carl, can you please unmute yourself?
Yes, doing that. Okay, good. So at this point, let me then turn it over to past district governor Nick to begin the webinar. One other point before you go on is we have a chat box. After the presentation, we will have a question and answer period. So as you develop questions, please put them in the chat box, and we'll try to answer them as quickly as we can after the presentation. So Nick, go ahead.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank all of you who are joining us today for webinar number 2, Eliminating Poverty by Empowering People. As Carl told you, this is primarily focused on microloans, and we have 3 key objectives. We want to introduce you to the components required to plan, implement, and evaluate a successful, sustainable microfinance project, which includes not having the project, but having the ability to create successful and sustainable entrepreneurial businesses that will uplift not only the families of the people who are the entrepreneurs, but uplift the entire community. We're going to share a couple of examples of successful microfinance projects that have been built on these principles. And then we hope at that point in time, we will encourage you to write your own story, and we will tell you how RAGCED can help you create your very own microfinance project. I apologize for for some of the confusion this morning. My Zoom has decided not to work. So Gomothy, let's go to the next slide.
Yes, we are on the next slide.
Well, I'm not seeing the slide that's there. We are. There are too many people in our world today who wake up every morning facing challenges: not enough food, illiteracy, ultra poverty, and they have no way to overcome those challenges. And while poverty has been on the decline for many years, we know that over 150 million people are being returned to poverty as a result of the pandemic. Next slide, please. In 2015, the United Nations created 17 Sustainable Development Goals to be achieved by 2030. The Sustainable Development Goals are a call for action by all countries, rich, poor, middle income, to promote global prosperity while protecting the planet. The #1 Sustainable Development Goal is the elimination of poverty everywhere. And we have found that microfinance has become a critical tool in the global fight against poverty wherever we find it. Next slide. So what is microfinance? Microfinance provides financial services and support including education, funding, and mentorship to people who do not have access to conventional banking or sources of capital. Through microfinance, people are given an opportunity to create or grow their personal sources of income that result in measurable and sustainable economic improvement in their lives, the lives of their family, and their lives of the community. Next slide, please. So why microfinance? What is the impact of microfinance? By providing access to capital and complementary services, microfinance enables low-income entrepreneurs, primarily women, to create a sustainable income stream that improves the nutrition, the health, the living conditions, and the educational opportunities of their family, while at the same time uplifting the entire community. On a personal note, my most vivid image after being with people who have benefited from microfinance loans is their newfound belief and confidence in themselves and their pride in their ability to make their families economically self-sufficient. Next slide, please. Rotary supports investments in people to create measurable and enduring economic improvement because it's a part of the area of focus community economic development. Rotarians assist entrepreneurs, community leaders, and local organizations to reduce poverty in their poor and underserved community. The Rotary Foundation has invested millions of dollars in microfinance projects through global grants awarded through its community economic development area and focus. And in many cases, Rotarians add their own funds and those of other partners. So we're not totally dependent on the Rotary Foundation. We have many sources of income that can help us create successful and sustainable microfinance projects. Next slide, please. When you think of microfinance, the first thing that comes to mind is loan capital. Capital generally is needed, but it is not the most important element starting or sustaining an entrepreneurial business. There are 6 pillars that support a successful and sustainable microfinance project, and we're going to take a look at each 6 of them. Gomothy, next slide, please. All projects begin with a community assessment. What are the economic and cultural characteristics of the community? What are its economic needs? What are the business opportunities and the market opportunities? I was on calls recently with Rotarians who told me that in their local community, loans are not appropriate. But they were focusing on some of the other pillars, education and mentoring, to assist their local entrepreneurs. But if a microloan program is included, then you need to know the size of the loan. How much money is needed to get started? In Uganda, my friend who works in the Gulu area has an average loan of $50 to $150. In a project that was recently started in the northern part of Honduras, the loans vary between $500 and $750. In Santa Barbara, California, our average loan is $12,000. While the difference in size appears to be great, they all have one thing in common. They are exactly what is needed to create a small business in their local community. The needs assessment confirms that the community is receptive to microfinance and the type of capital investment that is required. Next slide, please, Gomothy. The 2 most important pillars, not just for a sustainable microfinance project, but to help entrepreneurs create sustainable, long-lasting businesses, are education and mentoring. Giving someone a loan to create a business without providing the skills and knowledge needed to open and grow that business turns out to be, as you would imagine, a poor investment. Experience has shown that sometimes all the entrepreneur needs is an understanding of how to create or adapt their business to local needs. And as with loan funding, education varies from community to community. The Rotary Action Group for Community Economic Development can help you with community-appropriate curriculum. However, in all the communities, the goal is the same: to give the entrepreneur basic skills and to create a business plan that describes what is needed to start the business and what is needed to sustain and grow the business. Next slide, Gomothy. I'd like to share with you the experiences of potential entrepreneurs who went through the Launch Raleigh education program in Raleigh, North Carolina. Gomothy, can you start the video on the screen?
Just a minute.
Yeah, or maybe I should try and take control back, but if you can start. Are you having problems?
Just a minute.
Just click the bottom and there's an arrow.
Yeah, I got it. Just a minute.
Okay. You want to give me back?
You're already the co-host.
No, go, you're way too far. Go back to slide 16. There we go. Can you start that one? No, go back. And if you go to the, click on the screen,
Okay, got it.
go up. Right there.
That's the one?
Yeah. We don't have any sound. That's wonderful. I don't know what's going on.
I'm playing the video. Can you see
Yeah.
my screen?
Yeah, we can see your
Yeah,
screen
go back
okay,
to the
but
beginning.
Okay,
When
I just stopped it, so I'll go back.
when you share your screen, there's a button on the left-hand side that says share audio to. You have to tag that.
Yeah, I think, okay. Just a minute.
my apologies to the audience. I did have, my Zoom decided not to work this morning. So we apologize for the technical difficulties.
Not an issue, we can fix that, just a minute.
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't you let me see if I can share my screen? Okay. There we go. Now go down to the bottom.
This is a PDF version. Okay, I think I'm on the right slide now. Can you hear me?
Yay!
Can you hear
Yep,
me?
you're good.
Perfect,
Yep, you're
perfect,
good.
perfect.
For me, Launch Raleigh was an oasis. It came into my life when Renee needed to be rebuilt. Renee needed to be renovated. Her mind needed to change. I needed a new mindset on how to do business and a refresher. It's almost like I had an opportunity to hit that refresh button.
Launch Raleigh has helped me in so many different ways. Well, one was to meet people, how to approach people, know my audience, know my target audience, how to manage being an owner, and also how to deal with people when it comes to negotiating.
And to be an entrepreneur, you have to have a certain mentality. You have to have a certain skill set. And I realized quickly that I didn't have that. It was in there, but I just didn't have it yet. And I didn't know what to do. So I think Launch Raleigh is going to give you, if you're considering joining, it would give you, that extra boost and the information and the knowledge for what you need to be a successful entrepreneur. It'll put you down the right path. And it'll also give you a network of individuals who are in it with you and who have been successful.
Nick, you're still there?
Somehow I got muted.
Okay.
Here we go. Let me catch up with you.
We can hear you, Nick.
There we go. To grow a business does take capital. The capital provides the resources needed to support the business plan. Capital can come from many places. As Rotarians, we often look to the Rotary Foundation, which has invested millions of dollars in grants for microfinance projects. Local financial institutions also are available to help support the community with their funds. Villagers or entrepreneurs from the same community could join together and create successful savings groups that loan each other money. And one of the things I was mentioning before we started is we are now working with the global nonprofit World Vision to put together a program that Rotarians can use in different countries to create savings group. One idea I was recently introduced to was being done in collaboration with water and sanitation projects. To sustain water projects, communities collect monthly fees from their residents. One community decided to take a portion of those funds and invest them in local business development. The critical factor is that there is sufficient capital to support initial business investment. One reminder, these are loans, not grants. They need to be repaid. And loans need to carry interest because the institution that manages the loan fund needs to be able to sustain itself without continuously having to look for outside donations. Next slide, please. As important as education is the mentor. A mentor is a local business person who commits her or his time to knowledge to support an entrepreneur from the first gleam of an idea through the creation of the business and beyond. It's an ideal role for local Rotarians. The mentor reviews the business strategy and performance, helps anticipate and mitigate problems, and celebrate successes. The mentor assists the entrepreneur, or if it's a credit group, the entrepreneurs in the group, in moving the business from plan to reality. This photo is from Launch Detroit, where mentor Noel Jackson on the right is supporting Levi Johnson. Levi had been laid off from his job as a bus mechanic, but he had a family recipe for barbecue sauce that he thought others might enjoy. Together, they created the business plan and began selling Levi Johnson's Mighty Fine Soul Sauce locally. Let's take a minute to hear from them. Next slide. And can you run that slide, please? Thank you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear the video?
Yes.
I'm Noel Jackson. I was asked to be a mentor, and I thought, okay, I could be a mentor. I built a business, and I thought, well, I could share some of those ideas. And this is an adventure to get to know somebody else that you didn't have a chance to get to know otherwise. And you're finding out, as you're doing the adventure, all the wonderful things about this person that you just can appreciate. And I just think, if it hadn't been for Rotary, this wouldn't have happened. It's pretty cool.
Put a company together. You know. Well, I've got that guy that does Dreamland Ribs, and he might have some ideas for you on that. Okay.
I can make this sauce, but I don't have an inkling of an idea of what it takes to get it to the marketplace.
What I like about Levi is he's really passionate about a lot of things, and he's going to be a great front man for his product.
Well, he's proven to be more than a mentor. I consider him a friend. Doors have been opening up in such a way for me that it's almost unreal.
Noel Jackson's experience helped Levi create a brand and marketing strategy that ultimately got his product into national chains. They became good friends. Levi speaks about the time he will be able to be a mentor and also join Rotary. And Noel Jackson was so excited, he went on to become a district governor. A business needs to sustain itself and grow. Growth comes from adding new customers or adding new products. Networking helps entrepreneurs exchange ideas and create partnerships. What we find is that the people who go through training together or who have been together in a credit or savings group actually form an initial networking group and often begin supporting each other's businesses. Many of you may have belonged to some type of professional or business networking group. Think of why you joined. New contacts, new ideas, new partners, new markets. These are the same reasons why recipients of microfinance loans need to network. And this is another great role for Rotarians. Creating networking opportunities is the next logical step in a business that has reached an initial goal and is starting to needs to grow or expand. Next slide, please. Businesses need to track progress and measure goal achievement. So do microfinance projects. Think back to the community assessment that began the project and the objectives you set for your project. How many businesses would be created? How much capital will be needed? What's the projected repayment rate? And by the way, the typical repayment rate for microfinance loans is 95% or better. How will the loan capital be recirculated? And ultimately, are there any changes that need to be made in the project? One of the important aspects of community assessment or business plan is to tell you how to collect the data so that you do it through the entire life of the project and not just at the end. Evaluation tells you how you're doing. It provides feedback to your investors. Later, I'll talk about a microfinance project that Rotary created in my district. The organization that managed the loans has now recirculated that loan fund 3 times. I get an annual report on how the funds are being used in the businesses that are being created. But more important than the project is what is the community impact? I had a person who had received a loan and started a business tell me there is food on their family's table every night. Their children's health is good, and he can pay for his children to go to school. That's the impact that we want to measure from any type of microfinance project. Next slide, please. As you have seen, microfinance projects need partners. As we look at the potential partners in a microfinance project, think of the pillars and how they're represented in the partnership. An education partner could be a school, a local community college, a business that specializes in teaching, or it could be Rotarians developing curriculum that can be accessed from the Rotary Action Group, tailored to the community in which the project is being performed. Neither Rotary International nor the Rotary Foundation want a Rotary Club to be a bank. You will need to find a financial partner who can process and manage microfinance loans. It can be a bank. It can be a savings and loan institution. It can be a microfinance institution. The rule is that it has to be legally able to operate in the community that it will serve. You may have a population that's never heard of microfinance or understand what it may mean to them. Partner with someone who can reach out to that organization, who knows the community and can communicate effectively with its members to tell them about microfinance. You have your Rotary Club or other Rotary clubs who can help you with mentors and support networking projects. Reach out to the leaders in the community. The support of the community leadership adds credibility and provides insight into the culture and background of the community itself. When you consider a microfinance project, look at each of the 6 pillars and determine how they will be incorporated into your project. Taken together, they provide the foundation on which you will build an impactful and sustainable microfinance project. Gomathi, this might be a good place to stop if there are any questions. Do we have any questions in the chat box? Let's see. Yeah, let's see. What?
Yes.
Has the other
Okay, we have a question from Julian Chicasa. If you'd like to go ahead and ask your question.
Why
He's
don't you
probably-
go ahead and read it?
He just has his hand up at this point, so we'll have to
Please
unmute.
unmute and ask your question.
So,
Well, there's also a question, has the action group ever done village savings and loan projects? Yes, we have. There's one that's been very successful in Uganda, done by Rotary clubs out of the UK, where they combine agricultural training with savings groups. So it's a combination of teaching the people how to farm more effectively and giving them savings groups to create companion businesses. That same model is being used in Honduras, where where the project teaches local women how to grow organically certified coffee, while at the same time providing them small microloans so that they can build businesses, because in Honduras, coffee only is harvested once a year. So the answer is yes. Be happy to follow up any discussions you want to have.
okay, Nick, why don't you, if you could, explain the difference between microfinance and a village savings group? And then we have another question from, we'll take after that.
Well, typically, microfinance involves a third party that provides the financial support. What you're really doing is you're taking entrepreneurs who want to create a business, you're finding a financial institution that you can pair with them. The financial institution will administer the loan, collect the loan. Often the financial institution supports with mentoring and education, and the loan is repaid to the financial institution and is then recirculated. A village savings group has a group of women, typically women in the community, 15 to 20, who pool their own savings and loan it to each other. So you remove, in effect, the third party who's providing the loan. The women actually, or the members of the credit group, share with each other. In the project that I talked to you about in Uganda, the project actually seeds the village savings group with $3,000. So they give $3,000 to a local village savings group, which allows them to start the project. At the end of 3 years, they will have collected enough interest and return on their investment that they repay that $3,000 and it's moved to another community. In working the work we're going to do with World Vision, at the end of the year, they level out and they start all over again. And again, the World Vision project will also help to seed the local savings group, but your source of income is local rather than an outside third party. Shab wants to know how we vet the organizations. It's a great question, Shab. We normally look to local Rotarians in the community to help, or any of the partners that we're working with. In the case of Honduras, there are about half a dozen microfinance organizations. Interestingly enough, all of them have Rotarians sitting on their board or working with them. But what we've done, the same way that you would vet an international or a host partner, we work with the local people on the ground, the Rotarians and the community leaders, to help us ensure that the partner that we're planning to work with is viable and can provide the sources we need. Anything else that you see, Carl?
Well, Helene Dudley has her hand raised. So Helene, if you want to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes, I posted my question in chat, but I guess it's not showing up. So will Rotary allow those registered women's village savings and loan associations to manage Rotary microfinance projects? The reason I ask is because we run microloan programs, and over 100 of our partners are VSLA groups. But they're VSLA groups who need more funds because their members need larger loans than their savings will provide. So we build up a permanent loan pool of $4,500, but that are managed by the VSLA groups. But so far, we haven't found a way that we could qualify for Rotary funding for that.
I'm not ignoring you, I'm thinking.
Okay.
It's early in the morning, my time. If in fact there is a way that you can provide the loan, if the VSLA group is a partner, financial partner in a global grant, they can loan the money out. The question becomes, how does the project maintain its sustainability? So what happens to that money if you give it to the VSLA? If it is repaid and recirculated, then you can probably make it work, which is what we do here. You know, I've got an MFI, I've got a microfinance institution. They manage the funds. When the grant ended, and there are rules for how you end the grant, you have to loan the money out, you have to get it back, you have to loan it out again. They continue to recirculate and manage the loan. We don't ask for the money that's being loaned to be returned. So the question is, what oversight is available to Rotary, and how is the money handled so that it is not simply we give them the money and we walk away? Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, and yeah, we have a 99.8% repayment rate, and yes, they as soon as the payment
we can follow up. I'd be happy to follow up separately with you.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Ready to continue on? We'll pick up other questions later on, Nick.
Okay. At this point in time, we're going to look at two projects that talk about people who are impacted by microfinance loans. The first project we're going to talk about is the Honduras Economic Community Development Project. And I believe, Wally, you're going to share your screen for this one? Good.
You bet, Nick. Ready to rock and roll.
All right, you got the con.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, good morning, good evening, and good day to everybody. I'm Wally Gardner. I'm a cadre member of RAGCED, and we're going to show you this morning some examples of projects. People always ask, like, how big the loans are. What are some of the things people do? So this morning is our chance to show you some of those things and give you a little bit of background on it. Our particular Honduras project, the Honduras Economic Community Development Project, actually started in my district, 5360, as an idea of Steve Ricard, who came to everybody and said, we want to start a microcredit task force, and we're going to raise $1 million to do away with poverty. And we took that around to a few of our 53 clubs in our district, and the reaction we got was like, good luck with that. And when we explained it, and we said it's a 10-year program, and we're doing phase 1, phase 2, etc., for 10 years. And at $100,000 a year, it's a doable thing. You know, a couple of Rotary clubs together, putting their funds together and getting a global grant, and off we go. So that ended up by about phase 6 with $2.5 million. So if you imagine what $2.5 million in the hands of the poor, with the average loan size being about $100, kids can go to school. Parents can afford uniforms, there's better nutrition happening, common diseases get treated, families flourish, and crime goes down. So we're now at $2.5 million, and we're still not finished our 10-phase program. We've got 3 years left to run. So we're just delighted with the success of the program. And I want to show you a few of the things that happen. There's 3 ways that we actually do microfinance. Excuse me for a second, wants me to put my language in Spanish here for some reason. Okay, I'm actually speaking English there. Okay, good. Um, so there's three ways we've done that in the Honduras Economic Community Development Project, and I'm going to go through those briefly to show you some examples of each one, and then we'll be open for some more questions or pass it back to Nick and finish up and then do some more questions. So the first one we want to talk about is what's called a trust group. The second one is an individual loan, and then an interesting one that we've just been experimenting with are loans to small and medium enterprises. So let's have a look at those. Most clients start in a trust group. And here's an example of a trust group. These women raise chickens, vegetables, they sell used clothing, and they meet every week to talk about their businesses and solve any problems they might be having in terms of marketing, accounting, whatever. But it also gives them a sort of a belongingness to a group thing that gives them peer support, and they work really well together. They cross guarantee each other's loans, which means you sort of have an insurance policy for your business in that if you get sick or have to be in the hospital for a couple of days, one of the other women or somebody from their family will come and manage your business for you and keep it all running. So that works out really, really well in most cases as well. During the once a week meeting, they're looking at training and discussion on managing their business. This is where they receive their training and entrepreneurship and business management, sort of like a mini MBA, if you would. And if there's a problem with something, the whole group can resolve it. There's a mentor for the group from our NGO that helps with it, and they pay off a little bit of their loan each time too. And we're into technology with that, so it's all happening now over a telephone network and centralized computer systems that we put in. So it's usually 8 to 10 women, and here's an example of one just having their meeting. After we get to that, we get into individual loans. So most of the women that have individual loans have graduated from a trust group, so they already have the business training, they already have a business started, but like any small business, it's undercapitalized. So an individual loan means that the person themselves is taking on that loan and expanding the business. They've already received the training and they're very successful, mainly because they've worked in a trust group before. They then sometimes happen in situations where they'll mentor a trust group as well. So here's an example of Maria de los Angeles in Honduras, and she has started a shop up that actually is a center point to sell artisania or handicrafts from other artists and artisans within the community. So she's actually a mini market herself that she manages that for them. And the business has flourished. It's attracting tourism. They put a nice mural across the wall that gets photographed by busloads of tourists all the time, and she's right across from it. So it's doing very, very well. And she's kind of the poster child for IDH, which is the Instituto de Desarrollo Hondureño, the Honduran Development Institute. Now, what happens in some of the other jobs that we're creating? Here's a gentleman that owns a tire repair shop. He's had some land right along the highway. He built all of his own tools to change tires and is busily running this along. But when you come in to get your tire changed, you get a flat tire, you have to wait. So his granddaughter now has a business across the street that sells coffee and cookies and muffins and donuts and things like that. So you come in to get your tire fixed and he says, oh yeah, well, Luis has got, coffee on, go grab a coffee. And her cafe is working with his tire repair business, and the two of them are doing very well. A simple one. Great success story here too. This is Marta in Honduras as well. And she used her first loan in her trust group to buy a mixer. And this is a commercial mixer. You can see the picture of it down on the bottom there. And what she makes is decorations to put on birthday cakes. And she now has 6 commercial bakeries in her area that she does all the decorations for. As a result of buying that first mixer in her trust group, her business expanded to the point she has 5 people working for her. The whole bottom of her house has been turned into a factory. They built onto the house vertically so that they could all move upstairs and still have a place to live. And she now mentors her trust group in her neighborhood. Her neighbors have now started up their own mini businesses to the point where we now have a a mini chamber of commerce. The ladies were having problems with the street in front of their businesses being all dusty all the time because it wasn't paved and the sidewalks weren't fixed, those kinds of things. So they went down to see the mayor, acting together as a group, and walked into the mayor's office and said, "Hey, we want our street paved." And you can see in the picture there's a bunch of guys that are busy putting in sidewalks right now and paving the street. So it shows you the power of microfinance. It empowers women, gives them a sense of self-worth, and their self-esteem goes up, and they become a driving force in their community for changing things around. So she also, as I mentioned earlier, mentors a trust group, and you can see one of the IDH workers here in the blue shirt teaching today's lesson on business administration, if you would. And here's some of the things. And this is the famous first mixer. This all started with a microfinance loan to buy that mixer, and off she went. Another example, this lady makes snacks, and she makes them in the morning, gets up bright and early and starts making these snacks, and she sells them to people on their way to work. So that's sort of a drive-through business type thing, but she has other people that goes around the community that work for her and sell them on commission. So she's doing really quite well as in hers. Lots of people growing vegetables, and the vegetables they grow are just amazing. If you're from Canada, we never get onions and things this size. But to give you an idea, it's a simple thing to get started. Business training comes in and marketing. And I'll give you an example of a lady that's just started in this business. She's growing potatoes and melons and tomatoes and selling them in her stand. And you can see, okay, things are going sort of okay. I'm maybe a little timid, a little bit shy, but you talk to somebody that's been doing this for a year or so, and this is the result. Okay. This lady is a force to be reckoned with. She's got her own business, and she's a businesswoman, and she sells stuff every day, and her kids are in school. Life is good. Now, this is kind of an interesting one. It's a PYME, which is the Spanish acronym for small medium enterprise. And this gentleman's dad started this business way back. It's a family business, and he took it over from his dad. And I think his grandfather was involved in it as well. But they make ceramic stoves. So they get basically clay from the river, and they process it, and they cut out pieces, and it sort of goes together like a flat pack IKEA. They can sell these stoves everywhere, and it all slides together. I'll show you a little bit more about it. But this is a typical small business. He was working in it and somebody else, and we said, well, okay, is there a way we can expand the economy and create jobs faster? And so we decided to look at capitalizing on existing business. So by doing that, we immediately created 5 new jobs right off the bat. And those 5 jobs have spin-offs because those people now have money to spend within their local economy as well. So the entire economy benefited. But by capitalizing this business, we grew it to the point where instead of having 1 kiln, he's now got 5. He has 5 people working for him, and he's exporting these stoves to like 4 different countries. So here's a couple of examples of it. These are some of the frames they use to cut out the pieces. Up in the right-hand corner here, you can see a little bit of the pieces that go together. And the kiln, interesting enough, is fired with wood, but it's cutoffs from the sawmill. So he gets the sawdust and the sawmill bits and pieces left over, and he uses the sawdust to package the pieces of the stove. So when he's shipping them away in a pickup truck or something, they don't break. So they put a layer of sawdust in the back of the pickup truck. They lay in all the stove parts, put another layer of sawdust and some more stove parts, and they can successfully ship them that way. But the pieces of the stove are there, and they all lock together. And you now have a stove you can cook on and heat your house with, and it works really, really well, and it's not expensive. So it's a good example of how you can grow an economy quickly by capitalizing in an existing business. So those are some examples, and I'm going to pass it back to Nick
Wally, why
and
don't you,
tell you. Oh, go ahead, sure.
Wally, can you keep driving so we don't have to switch back and forth?
Oh, sure, not a problem. Okay.
Okay.
So
Now I'll be
Nick's going
quiet.
to. No, you're going to talk. It's your turn.
All right,
So
let's see.
Nick,
Do you have any?
I've shown you how to do this in a third world country, and Nick's now going to show you what's possible in a first world country in Santa Barbara and Ventura counties in California. Over to you, Nick.
Okay. Thank you. You know, when we think of microfinance projects, we often visualize low income, what we would call a developing country such as Honduras, where loans in small dollar amounts can lift people and communities out of poverty. But you know, microfinance has the same impact in the commercialized, in the developed world. So I'd like to share one project that Rotary is doing in the United States, only one of many, that took place in my district, 5240, in Ventura and Santa Barbara counties, California, USA. Go back one, I'm sorry, my problem. With our district suffering from the Great Recession and having participated in successful Rotary Foundation sponsored microfinance projects in other countries, Rotarians in our district asked, why can't we do it here? After some discussions with the Rotary Foundation awarded a club in our district, the Rotary Club of Simi Sunrise, the first grant for microfinance services to be performed in a developed country. Our district formed a partnership with Women's Economics Ventures, a local microfinance institution with a long and successful track record of loaning to low-income women. The target population was low-income Spanish-speaking women in Ventura and Santa Barbara counties. You know, sometimes people come up to me and say, why are we doing projects in other countries? Let me give you part of an answer. The $250,000 grant was funded by support from 11 Rotary districts that our district had helped in the past. The total cash investment from Rotarians in my district was $40,000. The remaining $200,000 was funded by our district partners and the Rotary Foundation. Next slide. The grant had two components. As we've told you, the most important component of a sustainable microfinance project is education. Since our target population was primarily Spanish-speaking, half of the grant funds went to create a Spanish language curriculum and education plan and to train Spanish-speaking trainers. It also provided an outreach person to go to our target community and explain to them the opportunities available and how they could participate in our microfinance project. Next slide, please. Since our local target, I'm sorry, hang on for a minute. As I mentioned, the revolving loan fund was $122,000. It has now been loaned out over 3 times. We've started 35 businesses of all different shapes and sizes. We're experiencing a repayment rate of 97%, and our statistics tell us that 82% of the women who benefit from the loans are out of poverty in 18 months. Equally important is that if you talk about community impact, we have a 15-to-1 ratio of what dollar invested in microfinance and revenue generated in the community. So the investment that Rotary funds have made in the community has resulted in almost $5.5 million in taxable revenue. The other interesting point is we talk about Rotary wanting to expand its reach. The success of this program, because of the success of this program, other financial institutions also provided money to our microfinance partner to support their Spanish language program. Today, 44% of the people who apply for loans from our partners, Women Economic Ventures, come through the Spanish-speaking training. Next slide, please. I'd like you to meet Reina Chavez. Reina is a young Hispanic woman living in Ventura County. She was a beneficiary of business education and a microcredit loan made with the Rotary Foundation Fund. The partnership of Rotary, our microfinance project, Women's Economic Ventures, and Reina's own creativity changed her life. Reina was working in the medical field when she set out to buy scrubs, which are the clothing that are often worn by the medical field, members of the medical field. She found one store had prices that were too high, another had poor customer service, and the third had limited selection. She thought that maybe other hardworking medical professionals had the same problem. They needed a convenient way to shop for unique and affordable uniforms. She started a business called Scrubs on the Run. Let's hear from Reina directly. Wally, can you run the video here on the slide? It should be, did you do it without the voice? Go back. Hang on for a minute. Again, I apologize. My Zoom decided to misbehave this morning. So I appreciate your patience. Well, let me speak. All right, here we go. One before, one up. Start the
I
video.
began my business based on my own personal experience wearing scrubs and having to buy them. I realized that it was a challenge to find a place locally that was convenient for me, that had affordable scrubs and a wide range of scrubs. So I ventured out by starting my business as a mobile unit. I started contacting local clinics and asked if they were interested in having scrub sales at their clinics. And I realized that there was a great interest. People loved the idea of us coming to them. And within the first 6 months of doing mobile sales, I realized that we continued to grow, so much so that I ended up finding a location to open a retail store. After a year of having my business, I ran into a situation where I began to need more money to replenish inventory, to bring in newer products. So traditional banks were not an option for me and my business for a loan. That's when I heard about Weave. It was the first time ever that somebody sat down and took interest in what my business was about, the potential that my business has, and they were just as excited as I was about my business.
When Reina came to Weave to get a loan, her loan was funded by the Rotary Foundation grant. It allowed her to quit her full-time job and spend time with her business and family. It also helped her hire her first employee. Today, she has 3 stores with 6 employees, and she serves as a mentor to other entrepreneurs. Reina's success is another example of the magic that happens when together we as Rotarians address a critical community need. Microfinance programs are being sponsored by Rotary clubs in communities around the world, particularly as they continue to rebuild their communities following the pandemic. Having seen these 2 examples, we're now going to turn it back to Carl, who will tell you how RAGCED can help you create your own microfinance project. Carl, it's yours.
Hi,
Wally?
sorry for the delay. I was having
Yeah.
having some difficulty getting back to unmute myself. Before we do that, this may be maybe a
Put the
good
slide
point.
back up.
Yeah, this may be a good point to answer additional questions we have.
Good.
And so I have several already, but if you have additional questions, either raise your hand or put them in the Q&A section. So one of the questions out there relates to trust groups. And the question typically is how many members should there be in a trust group? What would be too few? What might be too many? So, Nick or Wally, if you could.
Sure, I
talk
can
about
take that one, Carl.
Sure.
Usually we're looking for about 6 to 10 people. You know, tends to be the ideal group size. So the average size of a trust group is usually about 8 people. You want to get people that have, I guess, street cred would be a good word for it, or character within the community. They're known as upstanding citizens. They're usually friends of people that know them, trust them, and have confidence in their abilities. So if you find 6 to 8 people that already know each other and can work together collaboratively, that's about the ideal size.
Okay, very good. And question here is collateral required by communities to be engaged in a microfinance project?
No, not at all.
Okay,
I mean,
good.
it's not like you're getting a boat loan, you know, where you have to put up your house to get the loan.
So, okay.
And there is no collateral required by the borrower either.
Yeah.
Okay, good. We also have a question about finding outside financial partners, because you've said they're very important. What's the best way to go about finding them?
Ooh, there's a bunch of ways. I would look first for, in some cases, you have to find a registered, certified finance institute within the country. Like, for example, I did a project in Dominican Republic, and we were quite fortunate in finding a bank that started as an agricultural bank, and because we're doing an agricultural microfinance project, and we were able to put together a meeting between the local Rotarians, the local bank manager, his boss that ran the whole system for the country, and we convinced all of them that Rotary would put up the capital money and they would manage it. So that worked well, but it was a little bit tough to find, but we eventually did. So within the country, you want to find somebody that's a bona fide, certified, recognized national institute type thing. In Honduras, we're using IDH or EDH. And as a result of Rotary financing, they expanded from having 3 branches to 11. So they're now all over the country and in areas that previously did not have access to any kind of banking services.
Okay.
Another source are the local Rotarians themselves, who should be familiar with the community. We're doing a project right now in Los Angeles, and the microfinance partner we're using is actually a financial organization that is being run by a Rotarian. And he also could provided us information on another institution we're using in another project in Southern California. So Rotarians are a great source of financial institutions.
Okay, which leads to a follow-up question. In the case where there are multiple potential financial partners out there, how does one pick one over another? In other words, what should they be looking for in a good partner versus a not so good partner?
I would say experience. Before we started working with IDH, Rotary had done a project in Honduras already in microfinance under the auspices of Julio Vialta and the Rotary Club of Real Minas in Tegucigalpa. So the first thing we did when we wanted to start working in Honduras was went and had lunch with Julio and over chicken soup, discussed what we wanted to do, and sort of checked out the credibility of the potential NGO we wanted to work with, and got his assurances. Oh yeah, these guys know what they're doing, and have a reputable business, or if you would, or institute within the financial community. So, check your sources, talk to people, see who you get along with the best. Recently, I was in Uganda, and they're partnered up with Finca. Finca's had tons of experience all over the world, and we went to see them specifically to see what their expectations of a Rotary project were, how they were getting along, were there any obstacles between the two organizations, and they were just simply delighted to work with Rotarians.
Okay. Another question we have is concerns finding partners to do solar and wind projects in remote villages. Any thoughts on that?
I would say, you know, we look at it like we do water projects, you know, form a committee. In this case, you're doing solar projects, have an energy committee. And you need to be taking in enough money or charging people enough money every month to pay for the eventual replacement or maintenance of the equipment you're installing. So that increases its sustainability. Anytime you put a water pump in or a windmill or something like that, there's moving parts, and eventually those moving parts wear down and you have to buy a bearing or a pump or something like that. And it's nice to have a fund already there and somebody that's been trained in the maintenance of the system, which comes into the education part that Nick was mentioning earlier. That then makes it a sustainable system that has a continuing impact rather than a one-off deal. You need to have a local NGO or somebody that's has experience doing that in that particular area. Buy your equipment in the country if it's possible. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But by purchasing all of your equipment in the country, you're also supporting that country's economy.
Okay. A question has come up concerning mentoring. In other words, there was an example of in Launch Detroit of the mentor for the fellow with the barbecue sauce. What's your recommendation on how Rotary clubs can do the same thing in their particular city? And what resources can they turn to obtain help on it?
You want to take that one, Nick?
Sure. Rotarians in many, excuse me, Rotarians are often the best business leaders in the community. So from that perspective, they make ideal mentors if they want to participate. If not, what we're doing in the project in Los Angeles, we have a city-based organization that does this. They'll help, the city-based organization will help with the outreach and the education. The Rotarians will go through the education at the same time as the prospective borrowers, and then the Rotarians will carry on with the relationship and the mentoring when the loan is awarded. In fact, one of the things I like to say is when you get a check, you also get a mentor. The mentor is there to help you, to be with you, to advise you. If you have questions, the mentor typically has been through the experience, or if they haven't, they know somebody who has. Rotarians, as you know, have great reach, both locally and internationally. And it's a great role for Rotarians who want to give back to their local community.
Yep. So Nick and I have been advising a group on in South Central LA, and this is exactly the plan that we're using with them as well.
Right.
So we have a question from Joyce Lockard. Beaverton, Oregon Rotary's Uganda project at Gulu works with 180 women farmers in 6 villages. We need a microfinance partner. The multiple savings groups among the women have an average of less than $100, which is their own funds with no outside help. So Nick and Wally, what advice can you?
I can put you in touch with an organization that does microfinance in Gulu.
Okay.
Sure.
And Nick, how would Joyce or anyone else in this call be able to get hold of you?
Well, I put my email address in the chat box.
Okay.
Joyce, if you've got it, if you can just send me an email or put your email in the chat box. But I do have a friend, a former Rotarian, who's been working in Gulu for 10 years.
Good. The other thing that you can do is if you don't have that, you can always go to operations@ragced.org. And if you're unable to find that, simply go to the RAGCED website and look on there, and you'll be able to find that. So So another question here. Wally, you have on your name listed as cadre. So maybe you could take a moment and explain what exactly cadres are for those on the call who don't know that.
Oh, sure. Great. Pleased to do that, Carl. Cadre are a special group within the Rotary Foundation that does a number of functions. We help people with designing global grants. So we now get better grants and put together that have sustainability, impact, meet their community assessment goals and designs, and help them get the money out of the foundation, essentially. That's to start with. So the foundation now is receiving much better grants than they used to, and I'm pleased to say that about 13% of the funds that the Rotary Foundation gives away every year, approximately $80 million, is now devoted to CED projects. So we're working on upping that. We're up from 9% the year before, so we're doing a good job, I think. The other thing Cadre does is we go out and usually about halfway through a project and look after the stewardship issues within the foundation so that Rotarians know that their dollars are going to what they're supposed to be going to. And while we're there, we usually say, okay, this is a great project you're doing. What are you thinking of next? So we help them plan that one too. So that works out well. And we also do some financial reporting. If you're having any problems with a grant, we're sort of the troubleshooters and fixers, if you would. So you can get a hold of us at cadre@ragced.org, or if you want to, or you can't find a cadre member in some other field, you can email cadre@rotary.org as well, and they'll find you somebody, or talk to me and I'll find you somebody as well too. But we're basically there to help Rotarians and clubs and districts to put together projects that are going to be impactful and have a benefit to the world. So we know we do good projects. We just want to do good projects better.
Very good. So I have a question from Kudzai Ngarai saying, I wanted to find about microfinance projects versus village savings groups. How does the inclusion compare? Does microfinance present entry barriers since a third party is involved in it?
It does. It's a typically microfinance may be able to support a larger number or larger loans, but it does one of the reasons, one of the things it does is it does present some barriers to entry because you need to work with a third party. And Village Savings Group, as Wally indicated, I think the challenge there is getting a group of women who are compatible and trust each other. And even we talked about a mentor in a microfinance project, a village savings group often needs a facilitator who is not a member of the group, but it can help form the group, work with the group, again, answer their questions, work with the challenges, and help the group learn how to be successful.
I have a question concerning community needs assessments, and those are certainly required for Rotary Foundation global grants. And the question really is how might RAGCED be able to help with respect to those?
Well, one of the things we have done is we put together a guidebook a couple of years ago. Some of it is outdated, but one of the things it had in it was a community assessment tool that expanded upon what the standard Rotary one is and asked you to help you with questions that were particularly focused on the economic capabilities of the community. As you know, village community assessments can be done in many ways, surveys, focus groups, talking to community leaders. I think the important thing to remember about a community assessment, regardless of how you do it, and again, whether it's a global grant or whether it's your own Rotary funding, You want to do an assessment and you want it to be done by the Rotarians. Don't rely on third parties because every third party, it has a purpose. What we want to do is make sure that the questions we're asked and the community assessment that we get is exactly what the community wants and not what the third party thinks the community wants. I'll tell you a really stupid story. We didn't adopt the Village Project. Two clubs in my district, two clubs in Honduras, and one of the people in the group said, "How can you ask people what they need? They're poor." No, I didn't make this up. But I think we have to remember that if you go and talk to people in a community, regardless of their economic condition, they know exactly what they need, and they will tell you exactly what they need. And if you come to them and say, would you like economic development? How about it? And they say, what we really need is water, listen to them. And by the way, then go out and do a water project. So you're building one of the most important things to think about any Rotary grant or Rotary community project. It's a partnership between you and the community, and it's an equal partnership. They are the beneficiaries. They know what they need. They make sure they help you during the process, and then you provide the support that they need to help themselves. Now I'll get off the soapbox.
If I can put a plug in for the Rotary Foundation, you'll be pleased to know there's a brand new community assessment tool brochure coming out shortly, because I just reviewed it yesterday, and it will have specific sections on community economic development, others on DPT and all the other areas of focus as well. But I was really pleased to see that CED questions are there and how to do a proper community assessment using the available tools that are acceptable. Inventory assessment of the community, for example, to look at the talents that it already has, focus groups, surveys, those kinds of things. So look for that in your mailbox at rotary.org fairly shortly. It should be coming to press very quickly.
Okay. Lost my questions here. Pull this back up again. The question, what do you think about giving cash? Is Rotary involved in doing that? And if so, how?
Can I make a comment, please? This is Josie in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I'm a peace fellow. And first, I wanted to tag on to the comment Nick just made about the partnership between Rotary and the communities we serve. The failure of projects anywhere can always be led to the manner in which the project was funded or supported by Rotary or other external partners. Because the trend is to provide what they have, irrespective of, or not, without taking into consideration the needs of the community. If the community needs are met, my experience suggests very strongly that the community will not only use that opportunity for a greater good to support a wider population, to support a wider community of people, but also use it to build resilience and economic development. You know, I've been in human development for more than 25 years before I became a peace fellow. And I've been, since I moved to Canada, I've been in the zones of conflict in Darfur, that's in Sudan, as well as the Republic of Sudan and South Sudan. And the trend has always been the same. So as we engage with communities, we have to define exactly what the need is and what we are able to provide and how far, so that, you know, these people have a clear indication of the timeline of our support, and therefore what the opportunity line is that they can use to lift themselves out of their situation. We cannot ignore them and say, okay, this is what we are going to provide, because in our own mind, in our own Western thinking, this is what we think you need. It's not going to work. And then, of course, when we pull out, the people say, okay, good riddance, you've gone. You have not met our needs. So I just wanted to make that contribution. And as about providing cash, we have to be absolutely careful. Most of the time, the communities don't need the cash. It will make very little difference to them if they were providing the cash that will easily disappear, especially wherever cash is involved. You find out that higher authorities descend upon that space immediately. You know, they start telling you that, well, you have to be able to conform to financial rules and regulations, blah, 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 i.e., you have to talk to those who make the laws and put the money in their hands. And when that happens, of course, you have no control over that. So we have to be very mindful of that kind of request, because ultimately it may not reach the beneficiaries and it may be resources wasted. Thank you.
Carl, we've got about 10 minutes. Would you like to wrap it up, and then maybe we can stay on if people have questions? But
oh yes, well, you can certainly do that. Maybe Gomati, if you want to put back up the next slide, we've covered a number of different things here.
Go back a few, Gomati.
Right.
Keep going.
Yeah,
that one.
Great. Okay. So these are the broad areas that RAGCED can help you and others in your districts, your Rotary clubs with it. Each one of these, you know, providing expert advice, helping you with needs assessment, finding project partners, case studies, funding sources we talked about, training and education, community outreach, evaluation of the project, ultimately best practices. Each one of these. If you are interested in getting help in these things, or you know others that do want to get help, the best thing to do is to contact Nick at our operations committee. And the best way to do that is to go to operations@ragsed.org. Or you can talk to Nick, talk to Wally, and you can reach him at cadre@ragsed.org. Ultimately, our operations committee and our cadre team can really help you out with the different aspects of this. At the same time, if you're just looking for more general information, you can just go to ragsed.org. Also, as Gomati has noted, we are on social media, so you can find us on Facebook and several other social media functions, and on YouTube. So if you have additional information you want to get, we encourage you to go there or contact our folks this way. Now, as I mentioned, this is the second webinar in a series of 5. The third one is going to be next month, March 14th. So it'll be March 14th at 10 o'clock Eastern time.
Keep going. Yeah, there we go.
And you can get us at that. That'll be 10 a.m. Eastern for that. And there we're going to focus on creating your own microfinance project. So if anyone has any questions that we haven't answered already, you're welcome to stay on for a few more minutes with us. I also want to note a number of supporting clubs around the world who have encouraged people to participate. And we thank you very much for your support. And we encourage you to get more involved with what we're trying to do here, because as noted at the start of our session, microfinance really can make a difference, as can village savings groups, in helping deal with that UN Sustainable Development Goal of reducing poverty. So with that, we'll formally close this. Thank you very much for your time today. And we will look forward to seeing you again at our March 14th session and also at other activities. Everyone, have a good rest of the day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're certainly welcome.
Great program. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the information. Excellent.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Have a good
Bye.
day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if any of you remaining
you.
have any questions, oh, you're
Thank
certainly
you.
welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. This is Pauline. I'm the one that asked the question about giving directly cash. Has Rotary ever been involved with that?
Rotarians may have.
Yeah.
But as you know, Rotary, if you're working with Rotary Foundation funds, there are very specific rules on how you
Right.
manage those funds. I know Rotary clubs that have, in fact, gone into a community and worked with individuals and given them cash. But as the gentleman indicated, then the oversight responsibility is yours. You know, you don't want the person to run off and do something with the cash that is not specific to what it was given for. So one of the reasons, I mean, ultimately, you give cash because that's how you buy things. I mean, when we write a check in Honduras or we write a check in the United States, it converts to cash. But direct gifts of cash are frowned upon because of the control issues. If you have a situation that you think will work, love to chat with you or try it, or drop me an email, we'll chat, or Wally an email, we'll chat about our experiences.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to use a global grant to do it for sure.
Yeah.
No, we've never done it and I've never thought to pursue it, but it became a big discussion because of some results that have proven positive. But I was just curious. So no, we've never considered doing it because there is no control. There's no way to check. The whole point is you don't know, you don't tell them what to do. They take the cash and do what they need.
Right. The other thing you might want to do if you want to invest cash is go to an organization like Kiva, which will take your cash and convert it into entrepreneurial businesses, and they do the oversight for you. If your Rotarians are looking for that kind of opportunity, you know, to just pick a business and watch it, Kiva is a great opportunity to do that.
Right. Yeah.
So we
But
still
that wouldn't be a matching grants project, or it wouldn't be a grant.
No, these are you could not do what you're talking about with either district grants or global grants using district designated funds.
It's in the
So
in the terms and
we still have
conditions.
LaFontaine and Oscar and also Domi on. Do any of you have any questions you would like answered?
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
I think
just a comment. I'm from the Rotary Club West Ottawa. I am in Peru right now at supervising microfinance project, which we do for the last 8 years. And I really enjoyed the conference today. I learned a couple of tricks and I will try to apply that. And I will do my best to be at the next conference. A suggestion maybe, during the conference, the intensity of the sound is not the same for everybody. When Wally speak, it's like I receive the sound at 50% of the volume when Carl or Nick are speaking. So for the next meeting, if it's possible, maybe I'm not alone with that problem.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Something to think about. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Good.
Was very good.
Nomi or Oscar, do either of you have questions?
There are a lot more than that on the call, Carl.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Or any? Oh, we do have some more questions here. Yes. Let me pull these up. Now, let's see here.
All right. You want to shut it down?
A few moments here.
Okay.
Let's see.
May I have a question?
Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
I'm a past district governor, and I was candidate for the board in Chicago back some years ago. And I've been in the petroleum industry for a long time, and back in the 1990s, I managed to get financial help from my clients. And I did a lot of projects, and, including some money that I got from the large foundation in California. And I want to repeat that experience now that I'm here in the States. I was born in Peru, and I was a member of Rotary Club in Peru and Rotary Club of about 3 different countries. And now I'm in Rotary Club of Tulsa in Oklahoma, District 6110. And I've been receiving offers from one of my clients for $650,000 to help the Venezuelan immigrants in Peru, as long as I can get $1 from Rotary for every dollar of this fund. So to make it, a big project of maybe or several projects for a total of about $1,100,000. How can you help me?
Well, what I suggest you do is send an email, probably to Nick, and maybe to lay this out, and we can have an offline discussion about it. Just send it to operations@ragced.org.
What I done so far is I have some of my fellow Rotarians from Canada, and I send a trio projects in order to use these funds, and on this before the last convention for the projects fair, and I never get any answers. I send emails to this past district governor in who was one of the presidents of our organization, and also to the ones that were dealing with this fair in the last convention, but no answers.
Okay, well, we're certainly sorry about that, but maybe we can help you going forward. Or Wally, would you like to follow up on that?
Yeah, I would send the information as you suggested to Nick first, and then Nick and I can work on it together. Nick's
Sure.
actually in charge of the committee, and I'm on it, so the two of us can deal with it.
Happy to help you. I think you've got some interesting challenges. Happy to take a look.
Yes, we understand, but we really do want to be helpful if we can on this, and if we can't, then point you to the right people who can help you. So
I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
You're certainly welcome. Any other questions before we finish off today? Okay, well, again, thank you very much to everyone for your participation. We'll have a recording of this, and Gomathi, is there a way for others to be able to see this?
Yeah, we're going to post this video in the next 48 hours to our YouTube channel. I've already posted the link here on chat. And to stay up to date, please follow us on Facebook, YouTube. If you need more information about our activities, projects, please log into our website, www.ragced.org. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for the reminder about our other locations. Obviously, Gomathi is much younger than I am and much more attuned to that. So, but again, we very much appreciate your participation, and we will look forward to seeing you again. So everyone have a good rest of the day or evening. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Right.
Thank you.
Bye all.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Wally. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
for
guys.
helping
Thank you
out.
very much.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
And night.
You too.
Bye.
You too. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to end the meeting. See you all in our next webinar. Bye-bye.